I'm pretty pissed that I cannot use my webcam, but apparently it's broken in my new laptop. I have to send it over for repair. But instead, I'm going to pretend that I'm off camera because I'm sitting in a swimming pool. So if you hear splashing, that's the reason. Okay, so that's the silly part of the meeting. Sorry. So I don't think that there is anything currently active right now in the JSON API module. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you guys working on anything at this moment?
Nope.
Nope, I'm slacking.
Okay, good. I like a very good slacker. And by the way, I see other issues where you're not slacking, so don't lie to me. So one of the things that I think that is next, well, before we go into that, I started working on getting pre-flight requests working for JSON API because they were not. But then when I had everything lined up except for tests, a nice core issue went in that I wasn't expecting. So yay, because we don't have to maintain that. So there is course support right now in core, which begs the question of what is the official first supported core version for JSON API? Is it 8.2?
I mean, do we know of any other feature we need or use in 8.2? At least I always just used 8.2 when I worked on JSON API.
Yeah, me too. I know that there is an interface that was introduced in 8.2 and we're making use of it. But
Right.
I mean,
guess some of the cacheable response stuff from West. I guess. Gabriel, do you actually use 8.2 or 8.1 on your system?
I have one site that's actually using 8.1, but a very old version of JSON API, but anything new 8.2.
okay, I'm asking mainly because there's an issue. Not sure if you've seen that says 500 error out of the box. I'm gonna paste the link in the RSC channel for the Web Services Initiative. I tried to get more information about it, but I wasn't able to. The last comment seems that that he tried some different scenarios, but I couldn't I couldn't know which ones were working and which ones were not. So I would say that it is not crazy to say, hey, we only support 8.2, because there are a couple of things that we are using from 8.2. Is that something that you would be okay with?
Yeah, definitely. I know that, like you said, there's an interface somewhere that it requires it.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to support 8.1, we could go and code around that interface if that is the only thing. I would say I don't want to go through the trouble of testing integration with 8.1, and the test bot is always testing against 8.2. So we could say minimum required version 8.2.
Yeah, I would be also in favor of it because people which would actually use the module, like on production, right now, I guess they would be a little bit too risky to do that actually. So it's more rather in the state of trying it out, and they can always try it out in 8.2.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as we communicate that clearly, maybe also on the on the project page.
Cool. I will take on that task Okay, let me write this down. Communicate 8.2.x. Cool. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is I don't know if you've seen any of Fubi's presentations. He always presents this Star Wars database, which is just a relational database, which content that is I would say pretty approachable to nerds, but I don't want to go that far. And I would say the content that is pretty cool, and it kind of it's easy to understand relationships with between the content, because it's it's real world relationships. It's not like how an entity type is a relationship inside of a content entity, but it's more like representing an entity, like a movie and the director of the movie, etc. So I would say that maybe we could create a story to have a demo site, or a demo Drupal site with that data in, that we could then expose JSON API on top of. So we could use it in presentations if we want to, and we could use it as examples for people to play with read-only operations. Ideally,
yeah, that would be really nice, especially GraphQL could then do the same, right?
Exactly, yes, that was my next sentence.
Yeah. Right, and then we could actually compare, or people could compare like the different approaches really easily.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I would like them to be able to do. Sadly, it would only be read only, but I think that is the almost 75% of the cases people are going to be displaying content and not that much interacting with the content in the backend. So I think that would be okay. So if you are on board with that, maybe we could find someone that wants to get involved with this to get set up. I think I may have a spare donated Pantheon site, but if not, I'm pretty sure that someone will be able to donate hosting for this, because this would need to be publicly available, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are there any similar examples that just are an example of the JSON API specification that we may be able to also kind of show this is how you would build this thing in Drupal without having to kind of do custom backend or something?
I'm not sure what you mean exactly.
Maybe just like an example blog post out there that already exists for just purely the JSON API rather than some specific implementation like ours or something written in Go or Node or whatever.
Oh, yeah. So there is JSONAPI.org where the specification lives, and I think that in there they have resources like with clients mostly of JSON API, and I think that there are a couple of server helpers for some frameworks. But other than that, I don't think that there is much else. But I think that that should be enough in terms of explaining what JSON API is and how to interact with it. Maybe the spec is a little bit too crude, but I think that the summary page is kind of nice.
Yeah. I think what I was saying is just like we want to have a shared story between GraphQL and JSON API module, it might, if there already exists a story just purely for the JSON API spec, it may be interesting to compare it against, how you would build it with Drupal. But
I see.
If there's no story out there already, then it doesn't matter.
I'm not aware of anything like that.
Okay.
So we could create a story and find someone, unless you want to take on the story yourselves. We could. Oh, look at that! I didn't even know that this was a. Okay. So what you're saying, Daniel, is that the namespace is available?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we could basically create like an installation profile or something.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe. I don't know, or just a module which provides the content and the code. But yeah, having some cool namespace is probably also motivating for someone to get started with it.
Yeah. I actually know a bunch of people that only to be able to have Git access to that namespace would be on board. So yeah, cool. And if you know someone like, I don't know, maybe site building or maybe migrate people that want to contribute to this, I mean, we could direct them to there. Star Wars issue. Okay, so I will create that and definitely ping Fubi. I talked about this with him in the past, and he's on board with having the two. And yeah, I guess that then we could start providing examples. Maybe that's where water wheel examples could be based on, etc. But yeah, maybe it's too soon to talk about that. So the last thing, unless you have something else to add to this.
Nope.
Okay, so the last and main thing that I wanted to talk about today is about extensibility. So right now we have a zero config module, or almost zero config module, that you turn on and the world gets exposed to you, right? And the access to every operation is deferred to the access on the entity and the operation. So if you can create a node, or you have create privileges on nodes, then you can do a post on JSON API. And I think that is good, but we still need to be able for people to create compliant JSON APIs that look like what they want them to look like. So if they want let's say they want all timestamps to be converted to ISO 8501, 8601, sorry. So they should be able to do that. So how do they? Because right now we are not offering any integration points. So I was thinking a little bit about this and have some ideas, but I would be curious to hear about if you thought about this and what are your ideas.
So for me, I haven't put that much thought into it, but for me that seems to be mostly on the normalizer level. That kind of flexibility users maybe need. And I guess if we make them swappable in some way, that could be enough already. Or rather, it would be cool to have swappability on a, I don't know, entity type level or something.
When you say swappability, what are you thinking?
Like concrete or in an abstract way?
You choose.
Okay,
I mean,
well, yeah, okay, well, I mean, you came up with like a specific date format instead of ISO 8601. I mean, that seems to be something on the normalizer level, right? So if you could just replace some service, for example, that would maybe cut it. but it would like replace the entire world rather than just the specific behavior of one particular
I see where you're going.
thing. So I was wondering whether we could somehow basically move the registry of available normalizers from the global level to a per how do we call that, resource level,
Mm-hmm.
and then provide some kind of hook event, whatever, which allows you to replace which normalizers are used actually on a resource level. I could imagine that this is would add quite some flexibility, but just a random thought here. So what about your thoughts?
Uh, so if yeah, I'm gonna take this one because I've been thinking a little bit about this, not too much, and I'm almost 100% in line with what you were suggesting. I think that the normalizer and the serialization subsystem in general is the place where you can do this. I mean, it's perfect. If you do it the right way and if you know the intricacies that it takes, you can be very directed and very efficient in doing these kind of changes, because you can do things like, okay, for all timestamps, I want to replace, instead of an integer, output this string with this custom format, right? Because you can register a normalizer with a very high priority, and in the applies method, say, okay, apply only if it's a timestamp, and if it is a timestamp, then do that. So that would have the effect of, so the feature that this would implement, this special case would implement, would be like being able to change a property, all properties of a given type, right? In this case, the timestamp. So and the same feature, sorry, the same idea could be used to implement another feature, which is give me one field, one specific property of an entity, and alter that. Maybe process it in some way. You could do the same idea and then check the entity type and bundle, and then the name of the property, and that is what your applies function returns. So I think that we shouldn't provide much integration, or we wouldn't need to provide much integration points if we could assume that everyone knows how the normalization system works, which I don't think it's true. I don't know if you guys agree, but it's kind of difficult to wrap your head around it.
Yeah, it is especially hard with the priorities which are in place.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's really not obvious which one is actually executed, on which level especially.
Yes. So what I was thinking is maybe we could borrow some kind of pattern to simplify this, but at the same time, if we simplify this, we are crippling or taking away some of the flexibility that it provides. Like I said before, we have for free right now the feature of affecting all of the properties of a certain type, and just one property in one resource with a name, with the specific name. So I
Would it be
feel,
efficient to just have like an example module of exactly how to override a normalizer?
I think that this will happen naturally, and if that doesn't happen, I agree. We need to provide an example module for that, and probably explain it with thorough code comments. But that being said, that doesn't make it any easier to use if you are not adept understanding or having a fair understanding of how the normalizer works. Maybe you would be able to copy and paste and change some names, but not much than that. So my idea was, and this is totally brainstorming, okay? I'm going to share my screen and see if, because I think it's kind of easier to show what I'm thinking about. This is very based on the work that I did for the RESTful module in version 2. So it can change a lot, but this is how I started. So the idea is that you could, right now, you enable the module and you get resources for every entity, right? We could also provide a way of having configuration entities that have schemas like this, which this is just saying the ID, etc. And then you have a mapping that has some resource fields. And in the resource field, we provide a callable. So you can have an array of functions that you declare here, and they can be called at the lowest level of the field. Like I said before, you would be able to say, I don't know, for the article title, if it's an for the article title, you could want to have a string processor that puts everything in quotes because you're sarcastic like that. So this would be a way to have this through configuration, and then maybe a UI or a form could pop up to manage this. I don't know if that is sane or not. I don't think it's sane to manage these things through the UI, but you know, Drupal people, we like UIs a lot and empowering the site builders. And I think that providing this idea of configuration entities that override whatever is provided by default is kind of the way to go, but I'm on the fence with that. Like, I think that one of the things that we need to fix about the REST subsystem or the REST module in core is how difficult it is to configure, and to be honest, providing configuration entities for resources in JSON API is not much simpler, right? But
yeah, like I was trying to actually like create a node resource now in A2, and I literally had to read the code because now we don't even provide an example anymore of how to create a resource. Anyway, one question I have is, at which level would those callables be? Would that just be on the field level or on the field item level? Like, what happens? Can you override the behavior of a list?
yeah, well, that's an open question, I think. I guess that we could get this configuration entity as complex as we need to provide as many flexibility as we need to. But I would say that at some point we stop giving flexibility through this hypothetical configuration entity and say, okay, if you need more control than this, you need to go and understand the normalization system and override it with your own service that has higher priority.
Well, either that, or we could allow people to specify a class here, which is used to define the mapping or so. But,
yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But it is really interesting how you kind of re-implement the way how GraphQL works on the server side. Because that's literally what GraphQL is also doing. You provide the schema, and in the schema you provide the callable, which resolves the value. Here it's a little bit different. Here you probably you just render the data, and it's already provided to you. But it's really similar to GraphQL.
Nice. I haven't even read the code of GraphQL, but you know, people arrive to same conclusions,
Yeah.
especially if they think alike. But yeah, I don't know. This is just a crude suggestion. If anyone feels like this concept of having a configuration entity that if it's present then overrides whatever we provide by default, this is, I think, the basic idea, having this configuration entity. And therefore, we could have this configuration entity have a property of disabled. So if you want to disable, let's say, the resources for blocks, you have a way to.
So yeah, I'm wondering whether this should be really a configuration, because a configuration you enable and disable, or you deploy and not deploy. But with JSON API, at least at the moment, we just expose everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering whether, I mean, our resources are already plugins, aren't they?
Our resources? No, they're not.
Oh,
They are auto-derived, but it's not a plugin driver.
oh yeah, right. It's just a REST module.
Yeah, that's course REST module. Maybe that's the way to go, and then we do hook alter in the plugin definition. Not
Right.
sure.
Or even auto-detect. Well, I'm wondering whether we could basically say people, okay, if you want this flexibility, you can replace the resource plugin and define your mapping there. Well, when we have a resource plugin. And then we somehow auto-pick like which actual resource plugin is used. So yeah, but I'm just wondering. Because then it would be kind of similar to the way how REST module works in core.
Yeah, one of the things that we did was abstracting all that dis discovery and generation into a class, so we can do that fairly air quoting fairly easily. So how would you then alter the plugin? So could you be able to just provide a plugin and that would take over the plugin from the driver?
Yeah, I think that's actually the default behavior.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm thinking maybe James actually knows an example of that, but I'm quite sure that there are examples where in core where we do that kind of thing.
What was the question?
So is there some kind of example where you have like a driver which implements something, for example, for every entity type, and then you have a concrete plugin which overrides like for a specific entity type?
I can't think of an example, but that would be entirely reasonable. Like if I was in contrib and core provided a default implementation that was automatically picked up, but my contrib implementation needed to be specific, I would alter the plugin class into the derivative. That would, yeah.
So you would have to implement some kind of alter hook and go with it. Okay, cool.
I think that's the reason that the main sort of use case that we implemented alter hooks was so that contrib could override default or specific functionality for a plugin. So.
I like that approach. The only thing that I'm not sure we would have is a way of site builders to take to be able to do this stuff, but that may be okay. I mean, just as I wouldn't trust a non-technical site builder to build my migration for my site. Maybe building a JSON API server is something that you do require some backend development work.
Well, so I mean, you can enable as a site builder, like generic JSON API support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just enable the module. So that's kind of covering like 80% of site builders, or I don't know, even 90 or whatnot, percent of site builder use cases. But I guess I mean, if you really want to integrate with some kind of front-end people, for example, the front-end people say we want this kind of schema, then I think it's totally reasonable to write code.
Yeah, to tell them that you need to alter this plugin, etc.
Yeah. And I mean, it happens all over the place that people want to customize stuff and they can't via the UI. I mean,
yeah, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, right.
It seems like the sort of use case where if this covers 80% and like really solves the use case, then we should go ahead with it. And if that 20%, like a specific really good use case comes out where we make the JSON API UI that allows site builders to do something later on, I think we need it to be out there to really see what that is, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes back to the main item of last week, which is start getting feedback. And thank you for that, because I didn't provide any feedback for that. So we have people trying out JSON API, and they have been reporting some bugs, and I got in contact with them. Not sure if you guys know Mariano Dagmar, and he says that he'll be reading the code and even providing code fixes for the bugs that he discovers, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, Dagmar never worked on anything. Just kidding. He was like the main driver of use for, I don't know, 2-3 years. So
yeah,
but that's like ages ago.
So I think that if no one has a very big concern, it seems like a good first approach to explore is getting the resource manager that we have now, somehow make it a deriver or inject it into a deriver and generate plugins. And then those plugins can be altered and provide the schema that we want. Is that the summary of it?
I guess so.
Okay, all in favor. Good. It's 5 minutes over the hour. I know that everyone is a busy person here, so if you don't have anything else, I'm gonna call this a meeting.
Hello, I just would like to ask a little question. It's the first time I come to the meeting. Is there a meta issue to follow up?
I would say that no. The issue queue is not that big, so the meta issue is the URL to the issue queue.
Okay.
But feel free. I mean, you know my schedule. We talk all the time. So hit me in IRC if you are wondering where you should be starting if you want to contribute or have specific questions about the code and why the hell did you guys implement this way, etc. I may be able to help you in that.
Okay, because I have like 5 hours a week to contribute, so I can contribute and maybe I can write a post to help people get started.
Oh, that would be so nice. That would be so nice.
Okay, then I will get in touch with you. Thanks.
Okay. I love when this happens. The ball gets rolling. Nice, guys. So just a reminder, we'll be meeting next week, but then the following one, I think that there is an API first initiative meeting that coincides with the same day, so we tend to drop this. So next week we have one, the following week we may not. Ta-da! That's it.
All right. See you guys.
See you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.